Hi again, it's Ethan here with Benji. Hi, Benji.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. We spoke recently about the first episode of HBO show The Leftover, which ended 6 years ago. Benji has not seen the show. I have seen the show a lot. It's one of my favorite shows. That's why we're doing this. I'm very excited. I'm an older gentleman from America. He's a younger gentleman from England. So we're going to get right into The Leftovers, Season 1, Episode 2, Penguin 1, Us 0. Directed by Peter Berg, written by Damon Lindelof and Kath Lingenfelter. And it premiered on July 6, 2014. We get into it detailed. I just want to ask Benji what he thought of the episode.
Yeah, another solid episode. It didn't quite have the same effect on me as episode 1, but I think that was always going to happen just because there's something special about when you start a new show, when it's a pilot and you're meeting all the characters for the first time. So I really loved the first episode. This one I enjoyed, and I thought it was a good episode. It didn't quite have that same magic, but that's fine. That's what I was expecting, and I'm sure it's going to, now that I'm investing in it, it's going to keep up building, and it's going to just get better and better from here.
I agree, and I think that as we go forward, I'm trying not to spoil too much for you. As we go forward, I'm going to let you know if things I feel like are going to take a step up or down, where we're going to go from here. And I want to go slowly, and I don't want to give too much away because at some point, things change at some point in the 3 seasons. This is weird. They did this a couple times in the first season. They had a cold open, which is, that means they have some action, weird thing happening right away. And it's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Explosives, and Cults, which is from the ATF now to the ATFEC.
Yeah, you mentioned last time that Wayne, I brought up the character and you said, well, this is Holy Wayne season. So I was waiting for stuff to get more exciting with Wayne. I didn't expect it to go quite so fast, so soon. In the cold open, you got the FBI, and I don't know if it was, I think it was the FBI, knocking down the door and shooting a lot of people. It was pretty intense. Way out there. I didn't expect it to go so fast, so soon with Wayne, but I guess it pushes the story further forward.
Are you interested, do you know the term MacGuffin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the thing that keeps the story moving.
Uh-huh.
I think the story is more about Tommy, really, than Wayne. And this is, Wayne is kind of a MacGuffin to get Tommy's story going. With Christine, this is the biggest action scene you're going to see in this in The Leftovers, period. Mm-hmm. If memory serves me right. What'd you think of Tommy? Tommy straight up killing people.
Yeah. It definitely changed the dynamic because there's no going back from that.
Well,
it's I think it's Wayne was saying to him later in the episode, it's for a good cause, but look, man, you just killed somebody, and you're gonna have to deal with that now, and especially now that it looked like you could already tell quite clearly from the last episode he already had a lot of emotional baggage, and now he's just gonna heap murder on top of that. I don't know how he's gonna cope with that. On top of all the stuff he was already carrying around, and whether it's just going to push him to breaking. That would be my kind of thinking on that.
And it's weird, and I know it happens later in the episode, but this is kind of free form. So, I'm curious as to why you think Tommy, hiding out with her and then meeting Wayne, still doesn't take a hug. What did you have any thoughts on that? Was that?
Yeah.
Did you think he was going to get one at that moment?
No. Well, I wasn't sure. I couldn't be sure, but I had a feeling he wouldn't go in for the hug. It felt maybe too soon for that.
Plus, Wayne's trying to give him away, right?
Right. It was a weird scene all around, really. You're walking on Wayne, working his magic on the dead guy, and then he stands up and he's talking to Tommy, and he's got that weird thing going, and goes for the hug. I think he takes his top off, doesn't he? Right? Is it like he only can do it if he's topless? Is that his Is that how it works?
I don't think so. I think he's just a sweaty dude. Maybe it maybe it helps. Maybe it helps with maybe it helps the other people with the transference.
Right.
And there's more to get into that a little later, I think. I'm going to try to point out my favorite moments of the episode. And TV shows between the first and the second episode are really interesting to me because that's when they make changes and you see drastic differences in things that obviously, whether it's Michael Scott's hair in the first season of The Office to the second season, whether it's Saeed's accent in Lost, things or different cast members. A lot of things change between that first and second episode. And the biggest thing that this one has that the first one didn't have, it has the credits.
The opening.
Did you see the credits?
Yeah, I did. I noticed that.
And what did you think of those?
It was depicting. Am I right in saying it was depicting some kind of version of the Rapture? That opening credits where it was sort of panning and zooming all over the different elements of that painting.
It is this like almost Sistine Chapel type wall ceiling scene, but it's depicting all the types of people that are in the show, and it really moves in a weird like surreal direction. So you can see like the people moving. It's almost like one of those 360 Facebook pictures. And it's just because it shows a police officer being ripped away. It shows a baby being ripped away. It shows gay couples, which would not be on any Sistine Chapel wall. And that Max Richter theme, it's just striking and powerful. And, and it kind of says, it welcomes you to the show that says, this is strong stuff and it's not a lighthearted affair.
Yeah, I mean, I missed most of that, so I'm going to pay attention a little more next time. I just saw, I saw a religious-looking scene, and my brain went, that's the Rapture, and I kind of stopped paying attention and just listened to the music. Next time, I'm going to try and watch out for those individual faces.
It does depict the Rapture, but I think it depicts, and it's not what happened in the show. People were not pulled away all of a sudden out of the air.
Although it does, it kind of mirrors the statue, right? In episode 1, they unveiled the statue, and that was one thing I did notice. Was one of the paintings looked very similar to that statue.
Exactly, totally, yep. And it's somebody leaving, but we know that everyone just disappeared.
Right.
I guess then we wait. The show starts with Kevin in bed with Aimee, huh?
Yeah, that was
waking him up.
I should have twigged on that one faster because he had a weird dream in episode 1, but it took me a while to realize it. Well, it took me to the end of it to realize it was a dream, so it caught me out again. Yeah, it was definitely a weird moment. I don't know what to think about that.
Yeah, and you know what? With these episodes I'm talking about here in the first season, in the first part of the first season, I think there's a lot of that. So don't feel shaky on that, because especially within these first four or five episodes, there's some really questionable things where even I was like, okay, like what's happening? So he has a dream where he sees the bald gentleman. They have some exchange. I forgot what it is.
He's got a gun and he's shooting. I couldn't make out what or who, in fact, it was that he was shooting. Did you catch that?
I feel some of this episode is kind of the most striking thing in the first couple minutes, besides the credits, are the amount of eyeliner Justin Theroux has on. It's an incredible amount of eyeliner.
Hey, I'm not complaining.
Yeah, no. Like I said, that's a good-looking man. Anyway,
is this going to come up every episode?
I mean, is he in every episode? It's a motif. I guess he wakes up, and we're still doing more world building with the people around him.
Yeah, well, there was an interesting kind of thread to the episode around Kevin that I picked up on, which was the question surrounding his mental stability. And I think it sets up at the beginning of the episode in the first half or so, where we're like questioning, is he all right in the head? Is he going crazy? Because there's a couple of moments, like he loses the bagels and they seem to disappear. there's the truck that appears in his front drive. Nobody else knows or has seen that man. They think that was just him out shooting the dogs. And so it definitely makes you think, is this guy okay? Especially because it then delves into his father, who you asked me about last time, and I'd forgotten, but it reminded me this time where they'd set up that his father was a little bit messed up in the head, and they actually visit him in this episode. So there's definitely a question that we're asking ourselves, saying, is this guy making this, is it all in his head? What's going on with him? But then I felt like it answered that, and there's a couple of clear moments where, it made sure that we noticed he found the bagels, and his daughter Jill asked him about the man, bald guy, so we know she saw him too. So I felt like it opened in that way, and then by the end we'd come back around to, no, he's okay. He's pretty good in the head for now. I guess we'll see if they explore that anymore.
Yeah, and that's awesome that you noticed that. That's a big thing I had. You know what I mean? It's like they take all this time to make you think that he's starting to go crazy. Mm-hmm. And you just mentioned everything, so there's no need to mention it again. The mayor and his relationship are so contentious.
Mm.
It's
yeah, if they hadn't already set up Laurie's character, I'd be asking myself, is she his like ex-wife or something, from the way they talk to each other?
We were talking about the mayor and the closeness with Kevin Sr. and her contentious relationship with Kevin Sr. says you could loosen up, it wouldn't hurt you to show vulnerability. And then he says back to him, people don't want to see their police chief crying in their car.
Mm.
And then Kevin Garvey Sr. says, you've been crying in your car? I took that, you could take that so many ways, because I felt like maybe that was something that happened to Kevin Sr. that everybody saw. But he like almost denied it and said, maybe you're the one crying in your car. Do you know what I mean? Do you follow me with that?
Yeah, I didn't know how to read that at the time, whether it was like compassion or not compassion, whether he was mocking him, even though it was unclear to me which end of the spectrum it was on, because he's a hard character to read, Kevin's father. It doesn't help that he's a little bit crazy, so you're never really sure what his purpose is when he's speaking, what he's getting at. I guess I'm just going to have to wait and see more of his character before I can come to a judgment on that. Well, I'm definitely in the dark on this one.
The definitely thing we know is that, I don't know if you're familiar with him, but this is a heavy hitter in the supporting role, right? This is Scott Glenn. And you know that they got something for him coming, because you don't get a man of that caliber to come in and play this role. And I do want to go back to the mayor for 1 second. All right. Hey, everybody. We're interrupting the broadcast here because I reviewed something, and it looks like there's a retraction. I feel like I feel like I was dead wrong when I said the mayor might not be in a relationship physically with Kevin Sr. because obviously they are, because they gave each other a nice kiss when she left. I don't know how, Benji, if you saw that.
Yeah, I missed. Wow, I guess I saw that, but I conveniently forgot it because I made the jump to saying I sensed tension between her and Kevin as if they were
right
at one point partners. So that's obviously I hope that's not the case, because that'd be a little bit not quite the direction I want this show to go in.
And if that were the only issue, I probably wouldn't come back to record. But I just wanted to. I'd be really remiss. I sent Benji an episode of Perfect Strangers to watch, and it was very interesting that Kevin Garvey Sr. saw them on TV, and they all disappeared on the 14th. And there's nothing really to say about that. I just wanted to point it out. But I don't feel like I could let the episode go out without mentioning that Perfect Strangers was in it. And I woke up Benji in England just to tell him that. Anything to add, Benji?
I watched, he sent me the episode, and I went and I watched it, and it was like, it was a solid 20 minutes. Like, I stuck with it. I watched the whole thing, and I was reading into every little like dialogue, and I was like, oh, I wonder I wonder what this has to do with the leftovers. This is gonna be good, whatever it is. And I was like dissecting and stuff. So, and then
That's
I and then I remembered, oh, it was just it was on the TV in the home.
Just so you know, I sent you like really a totally random episode, the only episode of Perfect Strangers I could find.
It had nothing to do with the show. Man, I was listening to them talk about newspapers for like 20 minutes. Like, man, this is some deep stuff. It's got to be related in some way. This is so clever. I guess I'm just not on Ethan's wavelength. But yeah.
Well, just keep in mind I've seen the whole show, and that was made to be one season. They didn't know if it was going to get renewed, so that's in there. Thank you, Benji. Sorry to bother you. You can go back to bed.
Okay. Cheers.
Talk to you later. Oh, did we talk about the neighbor burning the clothes?
Oh, no, we haven't yet.
Yeah, and that was before that. To go back, the neighbor's burning the clothes, I guess, of his brother.
Because Kevin asked him, doesn't he? Why don't you just take it to, a charity shop or leave it in the attic? And
he's like, I don't want to see some homeless man walking around without it, right?
Right.
With this stuff on. Now let me ask you a question. You saw the teeth, the dentures on the ground?
No, I didn't see that.
Towards the end, Kevin's walking away and there's dentures on the ground in the burning pile. Departure happens. Man has dentures. Dentures depart or not?
Well, they got to, right? Because you would think by that logic, if the dentures stayed behind, then so would all the clothes, right? And that didn't happen when we witnessed in the first episode. Because when the baby went, the clothes weren't left behind, right? If I remember right.
No, there were not. No, there were not clothes on the ground. No.
Right, and I would assume they work on the same logic as dentures in that they're on somebody's person, but they're not a part of that person, right?
Right. That makes sense.
So maybe the dentures are just his spare pair or something.
Dentures are there.
There was definitely some interesting development around the Derns. Is that how you pronounce it? Character.
Okay. Well, yeah. There's two big things else to discuss. And it's going to be Jill and Aimee, but that also feeds into Nora. And then there's also what's going on at the Guilty Remnant house with Meg and cutting down the tree. Mm-hmm. And I think I want to get into that first because I think ending on Nora is a good way to end.
Uh-huh. Yeah. One of the character, or should I say characters that you didn't mention, and I just got to mention, even though we don't have to talk about them for a while, is the twins, because they pop up again in this episode. And I just, I love those characters. They make me laugh. There doesn't seem to be a lot of guile to them. They just seem pretty honest, innocent characters, and it's a breath of fresh air in contrast to the rest of the characters in this. So, I don't know, you might be listening to me knowing in the back of your mind something crazy is going to happen with those guys, but so far I'm enjoying having their presence in the show.
As of right now in these episodes, their presence is welcome because these are some dark things that are happening and we're building this world and nothing can really happen until we know, quite frankly, truly how miserable everything is. It's also goes to the way certain types of people are. Okay? I think there's people that don't pay attention too much to what's going on if it doesn't affect them. And I think those twins represent that kind of force in the world right now. Do you know what I mean? They're okay. They got a Prius. They got a brother. They got a best friend that didn't go anywhere. The only thing they need is some hand lotion. The hand lotion. So,
yeah, I remember.
But talk to me about, let's talk about Meg and the GR. She's kind of getting initiated, yeah?
There was a pretty good line where she was talking about how for a cult, it's awfully hard to get into. It was definitely an interesting observation. I was like, you know what? That's true. They don't seem to be making it easy for her.
Well, I mean, you've seen Fight Club, yeah?
Yeah, I've seen Fight Club.
Stand on this porch. Sleep on this porch. You're not getting a maggot. We're taking in Guilty Remnant, they're taking a thing away a day.
Mm-hmm.
They're still letting this poor schmuck eat with whipped cream on his pancakes, right? Yeah. And they're taking one thing away a night. When I guess Meg asked Lori something like, "Do you even still feel anything for anybody?" And she holds up the card and she says, "You got the hot cop and you're here." You know what I mean?
Kind of what all of us were thinking, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't know what people consider good looking, but I do know that the guy that came in that was with Meg wasn't a dog looking dude. Yeah. So it shows a little bit that she doesn't get it. That the thing, if I was married to a hot guy and everything would be okay after this, it kind of shows her at the beginning of this episode not really buying in.
It is a little ironic, actually. I didn't think about that at the time, but yes, when she says you've got the hot cup and you're still here, and we've just established that she's got seems to be a very loving soon-to-be husband who's waiting for her. So yeah, I'm not sure why she's choosing to ignore that fact.
Yeah, and it all comes to a head because the mayor is basically telling Kevin to leave the GR alone for a while, and he's basically like, I mean, I could, but I'm using it as a chance to see my wife any chance I can get. And so, I mean, we follow Meg. All I know is that at the beginning, she doesn't want to do it. They gave her the dullest axe on the face of the planet. What is the inciting incident that causes her to go back out and start chopping the tree again? I forget.
I don't know if there is an incident, because obviously Kevin visits. She talks with Kevin's wife, and then Kevin's wife takes that piece of, was it her mother's clothes?
Yeah.
That it was her most kind of special item that got took away. And you see there's a little bit of doubt and uncertainty as to whether she's going to stay with the Guilty Remnant. And then it cuts to Kevin's wife, and you realize she's gone, and you think, oh, maybe she's gone back to her husband, she's left. But no, actually, we see that she's going to finish the task she started and chop down that tree. And I got to say, even though I was watching that, and in my mind I was like, I've got no idea what this is like meaning. What does this mean? I don't understand. But it was beautiful, that last shot with the music and the building, and it was like I was getting goosebumps, even though I had no idea what was going on. So I loved that bit.
For the longest time, the title of this one, Penguin 1, Us 0, really eluded me, and I keep forgetting it has to do with that penguin in Kevin's therapy session.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still not going to remember that because I'm not going to watch this episode a lot. Kevin goes through this journey of insanity. We don't really know what's going on. He has these dreams, but by the end, he finds his bagel.
Mm-hmm.
And what a bagel. It had cream cheese. It was delicious. Capers. Little Nova. So good. His daughter and her friend confirms that his name is Dean.
I don't think they gave his name this episode yet.
Well, I'm sorry if I gave it.
I'm not your friend yet. Well, it's not. Dean is a...
He's real, though. He's real, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay, it seems to be so far.
Seems to be so far, unless...
And, I've seen weirder things happen in Lindelof shows, so it's not out of the question. But my gut tells me he's real.
All right, everyone knows right now I'm not saying anything about weird things. So before that, let's talk about Nora Durst for a minute. We see Nora Durst in a cafe. I'm going to take these slow because I want to hear your opinion about each one.
Right.
The girls see a gun in her bag. The bag is dropped, or the bag is on the floor, and the coffee is knocked over on purpose.
Yeah.
Before we talk about that, let me ask you, yes or no, did she open the bag, leave the bag open on purpose so people would see the gun?
I don't know. But it seems to me if you're carrying around a gun, it's a pretty sizable gun, and it's in a bag, and you're in a crowded coffee shop. If it was me, I think I'd remember to close that bag up, and I think it'd be pretty hard to forget. So the fact that it's still open would suggest to me that that's an intentional decision. She just seemed to have some kind of weird thing going on with, I don't know if attention's the right word, but when she knocks the mug over and breaks it, and then the guy comes out and he kind of immediately backs off when he realizes who it is, and it's fine, whatever. She just have to see. It seems to have this thing going on with, like, she can get away with whatever she wants to. I don't know if that's what she's going for or not, but that's what the coffee mug I read into that. It seemed like a deliberate act of, what, I'm just gonna push this over because I can, and nobody's gonna say anything to me.
Yeah, and it's weird, right? I mean, it's an attention grabbing move. The gun may be for safety, but it also might be for more attention grabbing. She's an interesting one, and this is, Aimee and Jill decide to follow her, and they follow her to her job.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a big deal for me. Her job, she works for the DSD. She works for the Department of Sudden Departure. And she goes around and she asks people on video camera these questions to pay out insurance claims. So before we get into those questions, it's another example of the massive ripple effect that this event has had everywhere. Companies have sprung up. Industries have sprung up.
Right.
People are claiming insurance for dead people. They're saying they didn't die. We have to make up some new kind of insurance because we're not going to stop making money. The alcohol, over here it's the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. In the show, it's been changed to ATF, Explosive and Cults as well. And all these things happen in 3 years. That's a very fast time for the bureaucracy of the United States to work.
Mm-hmm.
People were shitting themselves when this happened. So she works for the DSD. And what did you think of her job and how she does it? Do you remember that scene?
Yeah, no, I do remember that. It definitely seems like, it's a weird, it's, of all the people to have that job, for it to be her is interesting. I don't know, part of me thinks she would want to get as far away as, in her mind, as far away from talking about the departure, the event, as she can, try and keep it out of her life, because it's obviously such a painful thing for her. But it's like, that's all, it's her job, and she's talking about it all the time, and it's such a big part in her life, even though it's such a painful part, and she has to, I'm assuming she has to do this kind of thing day in, day out. So that's what I thought about that. But in terms of the questions themselves, it seemed to me like they were trying to establish some kind of data set, or obviously the questions were very weird. But I think the questions were meant to be attempts to gather data about people that have departed and saying, okay, so 20% of the people that departed were allergic to peanuts, and 50% of them couldn't drive a car, and I don't know. That seemed like the most logical explanation to me, is that they're using this opportunity to gather as much data about the event as they can, so they can help figure out if there's any correlations or statistics that they can read into it. I can't think of any other reason to be asking those questions.
What did you think of the questions that she had to ask, and her job doing that?
Well, they were weird questions. That much was clear. She admits that herself. What I couldn't put a finger on was if those questions, the purpose of them, was it to be gathering data sets and statistics and correlations and kind of mapping stuff out and helping them figure out, whether there was any pattern to people that departed or not. Because that was what one part of my brain was imagining might be the case. The other side of me was just wondering, like, it seemed to be, it was obviously the questions were so weird, and the elderly couple answering them it was obviously inflicting pain on them, and they were recording it, and it was this really intense, weird dynamic where it seemed like they were purposely being antagonized, even though I don't know if that was the case, but it definitely seemed like there was more to the questions than just gathering data, even though I can't quite work out what it was.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of emotion, and you have to ask these questions. I think it's just like all insurance. You're you're gathering data, sure, but what you're really trying to do is not to pay out money, right?
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
they're asking these questions to this couple, and so I'm not going to give anything away. They did give you a little hint that if you looked at the table behind them, there's
Yeah, they did mention that. Sorry.
okay, well,
I just remembered.
now that I know that, they mentioned it, I'll talk about it. Yeah, I mean, why are you forcing people that have given their life to take care of someone who has special needs with questions like did they have 20 or more sexual partners? I mean, you would think there would be some kind of consideration for those people not to have to answer that question.
And it is interesting because, I was saying before, I couldn't figure out what the point to these questions was. But I think from what you said, it really clarified, these guys, obviously insurance companies they don't want to pay out. So there was a clear moment when she was saying, look, guys, if you want to get your payout, I have to hear, see, film you answering all these weird, downright humiliating some of the questions, and you've got to sit through it all if you want your money. And so at the time, I was like, yeah, what's going on with that? Is that some kind of power trip thing? But now that you mention it's just, it's the insurance company, they don't want to pay out. That does make a little bit more sense.
And it might not even be her being against them. It's just, this is my job. This is what I have to do. She's got a hard job, and I don't know why she had chosen to do that job. I feel like she's setting herself up for some kind of extra punishment all the time. This is an episode that people were watching at the beginning of The Leftovers that, The Leftovers lost a lot of people within the first half of the season. And I think this is one of the episodes, it's got great things in it, but it's not the easiest to take. But you have to get this world building going.
Yeah.
And,
well, yeah, I'm excited. You're putting in the work now, getting to know these characters. Getting through. I mean, it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. It didn't feel quite as special as the first one, but like you're saying, you've got to put that effort in, and it's going to be. I imagine the payoff's going to be pretty incredible.
And with that, I think I'm going to wrap up this particular chat on the second episode of the first season of Leftovers. Thanks for joining me, Benji.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure as always.
And we'll be back to do another one soon.